Alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.
Are you guys ready? Okay, let's serve Uganda. As promised, we deliver. We are redefining the social media narrative, asking tough questions and holding your leaders accountable. We are non-partisan and break down having a conversation with Uganda.
We are the Mighty Drive. We hold debates that give you viable solutions. We bring to you people that Ivora is wanting to listen to. We are gender sensitive and give space to the unheard voices. Not forgetting the quote of the day.
We are live on our social media platforms, The Alternative Uganda on Facebook, YouTube and Twitter from Monday to Friday, 7 to 9 a.m. Don't miss the debate behind the wheels and our studios.
I am Edgar Matthew Karuhanga.
Farida Vikobiri.
And Princess Luwe Delidian.
Expect in-depth analysis, credible, factual and authentic information. We are the Alternative Digitalk.
Real issues, real talk.
Fellow citizens, following the sequence of events, Uganda seems to be at political crossroads.
I'm not a servant of anybody.
Madam, I know the law.
As such, Alternative Digital brings you the Interface Show with retired Colonel Dr. Kizza Besigye.
Let's keep on the same page on Alternative Digitalk,
As he gives you the alternatives on the transition question, rule of law, human rights and freedom, youth inclusion in governance, economic stagnation, as he confirms.
I'll be always here Saturday from 10 a.m. in the morning. Be there.
Don't miss the live discussion on the Alternative Uganda, Digitalk TV Facebook pages, and the Alternative Uganda YouTube channel.
The Alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.
It's the 5th of November 2022. Welcome to the Interface with Dr. Kizza Besigye. This is the show where we bring to you Dr. Kizza Besigye, who is always here every Saturday to dive into issues that concern the politics of our country, that concern the economics of our country, that concern the well-being, the social life of every Ugandan. He's here to give us alternative views and policies that would perhaps help and better our mother country, Uganda. You are welcome once again. I am your host, Nixon Segawa, and you are tuned in to the Alternative Uganda. This is a TV, an online TV platform, and we are here to redefine the social media narrative. Welcome today. I'll request you to get that link and please share it with your neighbor, share it with your friend, share it with your loved ones. Whoever you feel should be part of this, better inform him or her that Kano is here and is going to be speaking to all of us. I want to pass on this message to all of the people that have lost their beloved ones. We indeed, we feel for you wherever you are. And whoever has passed through hard times, we pray that God will help you get out of those hardest moments that you are passing through. And whoever has enjoyed life, please enjoy responsibly. Doctor, I want to welcome you and you say hi to our viewers. Welcome, Doctor.
Thank you, my brother Nixon Segawa. And a very good morning to all of you who have tuned in to the alternative Uganda Digitalk TV this morning. I hope you've had a good week. It hasn't been quite a nice one on my side. We've had losses. A dear friend and colleague in the struggle for change in Uganda, Prince Obomulangira Dixon Wasajja, who was living in the UK, passed away suddenly after arriving home the same morning. You know, he passed on. It's been very, very sad, you know, to deal with that. His family is still awaited to arrive from UK.
So sad.
We pray they arrive safely, and that then we may see him off. And then, of course, there was also the loss of our comrade, Lt Col, retired Ahmad Kashillingi, who hails from the same place as I do in Rukunjiri,
Okay.
and with whom we shared tough moments during the Bush War struggle, and who has also departed this week. So it's very sad. In fact, even now, just as I was entering the studios here, I just received a call from my sister to inform me that one of my dear cousins, a fellow, you know, he was older than me, but we were together at school. At some time I shared a bed with him. Passed on last night or so. Just found dead this morning. He's not been feeling quite well though. So it's been a rather tough week and continues to be. And so my sympathies to all of you out there who are experiencing similar tough times. I feel for you. And indeed, most Ugandans are really passing through very, very difficult times, even of ordinary survival. Just getting by, having a meal on the table, having where to sleep, you know, having children who are now at school, some doing exams, others who couldn't do exams, though they had prepared for exams, but they couldn't afford the fees and fell out. You know, and they have their parents who are feeling a lot of pain. So there are many, many people whom I know share in the kind of pain that most Ugandans are experiencing, looking after sick ones in the hospitals. You know, last night I saw somebody talking about the conditions in the hospital, and you know, and I feel, you know, anybody who has not had a patient in our hospitals or health facilities, whether health center, whatever, or hospital, including the National Referral Hospital, will not know how painful and difficult it is to look after a patient in these places. You know,
it's really
the kind of conditions in which, environment in which the patients themselves are being nursed, the demands on the caretakers, you know, those who are looking after those patients, you know, on every turn you have to go and buy something, and so it's really terrible, and I feel for all of you. I pray. I think we need really God's intervention in all this, and I hope that we can all pray for better times. But I know also that there are those who are having good times, and I also share in your good times. Last weekend I attended a wedding, a fabulous wedding of a colleague who was uniting with his partner in holy matrimony. It was a nice time. So I know that there are also happy moments, and I join you in celebrating them. So yes, welcome to this weekend's program, and I hope indeed you encourage others to join in, and we share in what goes on in our great country.
Okay, Doctor, we welcome you, and we, as we promised you, we believe to have the best of time in this moment. We are going to be looking into a number of issues this morning, and I know Doctor is going to give it his best. In this very week, just on Monday, 2 police officers were attacked after 2 police officers were killed on an attack at a police station in Busika. We shall be looking at what is really lacking. Many police stations have been attacked of recently, and they have been stealing guns, they have been killing our officers. We really need to see what could be the problem. And this very week, we saw protesters in Democratic Republic of Congo. They came up and were accusing Uganda of being behind the M23, and they are putting up several demands against to their president. They want our relations to be terminated, and also the Operation Suja. You remember that operation it was launched after there was an attack by the ADF in Kampala at near Parliament and near CPS, and after that attack, then an operation was launched in DRC. Now the citizens are saying we are tired of that because Uganda is behind M23, therefore all that should be terminated. We are going also to look at the US ambassador came out this very week, and they were revealing their plans, their decision to stop funding, putting funds directly to government because of the corruption of government officers. But now they want to opt to put these funds that would perhaps fight Ebola to agencies. All those are the issues that we are going to be looking at. And please don't be tempted to turn off. Just stay here. Doctor, the passing on of your friend, your colleague, the one you battled with, that's where I want us to begin from. Lt Col Ahmad Kashillingi. We need really to know how you best know him and what his death now means.
Well, thank you very much. You see, for most of my colleagues with whom we were in the bush, I haven't really been close to them for many years, because understandably I am untouchable by those who are associated with the government in any form or manner, and certainly those who are in the security. Not that we don't find ways of communicating, but certainly I can't say
you can't be so close
that I am, closely interacting with them. In fact, there are those whom I was quite close with when I was in service, and whom when I meet by accident, like in a supermarket or something, you literally see somebody running away.
As if he is facing...
Yes, because, and I understand it, because, you know, they fear that if we are seen, for example, shaking hands and talking, it will be reported on. That, you know, we were having a meeting in a supermarket that we had planned to meet there, and a lot of things will be built on it, and in no time you'll hear that person in a lot of trouble.
Okay.
So, you know, I haven't...
They see you as a trouble causer.
For them, yes, as potentially endangering to their careers, and so I haven't been closely relating with most of my colleagues with whom we were in the bush. Now, Ahmad Kashillingi joined the forces in the 1960s.
1960s.
No, I think in the 70s. I think he joined in the 70s. No, 60s. Kashiling joined in the 60s. I think he joined in 1967. So he's been in the forces for over 50 years. You know?
Over 50 years.
Yes. He joined in the 60s. Possibly has been in the force for about 65 years. So he was, you know, older. And those who were in the Uganda Army, which was the army of the 60s, the post-independence army was called the Uganda Army, abbreviated UA, and they liked to be referred to by that UA. You know, they were Uganda Army or UO, Uganda officers of that time. And they really enjoyed their military service and cherished their military service. I think more than anybody that I have seen in the military over the years. You know, those who were in the Uganda Army.
Uganda Army.
Yes. Which of course later overthrew the Obote government, the Obote I government, led by Idi Amin, and continued until 1979. You know, those who served over all that time, from the 1960s to 1979, they were extremely proud of their service as military people. And they looked down upon all other soldiers of other generations. So they don't consider the UPDF, NRA, they didn't consider the NRA people whom they found in the bush, you know, who were recruited in 1979 and later on in 1981 went to the bush. They didn't consider them as really serious, as serious soldiers. You know, they looked down upon them. They felt they were the real cream, the real soldiers. And of course they were far more better trained.
Okay.
Like this Ahmad Kashillingi had many courses in the Uganda Army, you know, paratrooping and commando courses and all kinds of...
trained commando.
Yes, you know, Signora, you know, communication, military communications and so on.
Very resourceful.
So they had, you know, they were very well trained, and which is a credit, I think, to the Uganda Army at that time. They paid a lot of attention to the development of the military servicemen. and looked after them well, you know, had decent barracks where they stayed and so on and so forth. So Kashillingi was of that extraction of the Uganda army, who liked his soldier life, who enjoyed being a soldier, you know, and until his death, you know, he really cherished his, and therefore one of his pains was that, you know, he didn't progress to become, you know, the senior decorated officer that all professional soldiers aspire to, because these were joined the army as a profession, unlike ourselves, who joined the forces simply to fight for our freedoms. For them, they joined the service like you joined the public service. They joined the military to serve in the military service. And so they wanted to become, you know, professionals in that service and to advance in their careers. That's why I think a person like Moses Ali, you see, even at his age, he really complained bitterly for not being promoted in the military until he was made a general. And he put on his, you know,
yes, he feels now
his military uniform of a general, and he feels accomplished. That's how all these UA soldiers really felt.
So, Doctor, you highlighted on one of your platforms that he's a general that didn't become.
Well, yes. What I meant really was that his peers in the struggle, they were the leaders, they were the cream of our struggle. He was commanding a battalion of the NRA, and all the commanders of the battalions, of our battalions, and they weren't many, they became the leading, you know, the generals. They were the generals of our struggle. So, like at that time, initially we didn't have battalions. We had companies. And originally there were 3 companies, A, B, and C Koi. So in other words, the whole army was one battalion. Eventually they baptized these Kois as battalions. You see, even then they were not quite battalions, but they baptized them battalions. And Kashillingi was heading such a battalion. Just like Pecos Kutesa was heading the battalion. Joram Mugume was heading a battalion. Lumumba, the late Lumumba was heading a battalion. You find like Kashaka, I don't know where he is now, was heading a battalion. There was, and others who were heading units like Mohanji, who also passed on, Charlie Gonza, and so on. So these people who are heading battalions and are still alive are generals, you know. Kashillingi, unfortunately for him, when we go to ranks.
So those who are still alive are generals?
Yes.
So this one was missed.
Well, that's why I was saying that he was the general that never
become.
Because he was heading the units that were headed by what would be generals now. You know, so the battalions are the divisions. They were our divisions. Like I have said, the companies were initially the biggest units we had, companies. Then they became the battalions. So by the time we came into Kampala, the biggest unit was a battalion.
Yes.
the biggest unit of NRA, so he was heading the biggest unit. Like you have the divisions now, and the divisions are headed by generals. So, you know, he was of that level. So when we came into Kampala in 1986, he was a senior officer. At that time, the ranks in the bush had only high command as a rank, senior officer below the high command, member of the high command, senior officer. Below senior officer, we had junior officer class 1, junior officer class 2, and then provisional junior officer, and then the non-commissioned officers. So,
Doctor, before we come to Kampala, did you work closely with him in the bush?
Well, of course, as I have said, we were all a small unit. So to that extent, all of us, you know, interacted closely during the bush war. And which was not the case, of course, after coming out of the bush. Yeah, so he entered Kampala as a senior officer. And so when ranks were eventually given formal ranks, he was given a rank of a lieutenant colonel.
And he has died on that rank.
And that is the rank at which he has passed on with. We were together given the same rank. I was lieutenant colonel too at the time of giving the ranks. And you know, he was then appointed to head the Department of Records.
Yes, yes.
In the headquarters of the military. At that time, I was not in the military service. I was in government. I was serving in government then as initially in the Ministry of Internal Affairs and later on in the President's office. And then a mishap befell him because the records office which he headed was gutted by fire. And that's where the controversies surrounding him started. So when that office was, that was in what is now Bulange, you know, in Mengo. That's where the military headquarters was at the time, and it was it caught fire at night, and the whole office and records were destroyed. And then apparently he was suspected as having been behind the fire that destroyed the force, I mean the office. And according to his story, which he actually gave to the media, and which is out there for everybody to read, there was an attempt to arrest him, and his home was surrounded, and he chose to flee.
For his life.
Yes. He says he was influenced by what happened previously in situations like those. He believed he was in mortal danger, and he ran to Congo. The DR Zaire then.
Yes.
Where after some years he was captured he was captured and brought back. And he spent some time in the military detention. later, I think he spent about a year or so in the military detention. Later, he was charged and detained in Luzira, and eventually tried and acquitted. And having been acquitted, I think there was really no process of rehabilitating him. That's what is very clear. And he himself talked about how he was, unfairly treated. He talks about a situation when he was informed that he was going to be given a medal. And as I told you, the people of the UA, if he hears that he's going to get a medal, he will be extremely excited. So he was clearly excited. He went for the medal, according to his own story. And while there, he was informed that he would not get the medal, that he had been removed from the list, of those who were to receive medals. And so he clearly lived on the margins. I talked about a fairly recent encounter where he came and we met. And he told me very, very painful stories, which I haven't shared, but which were certainly very concerning to me. And as I have said, he was not somebody that I was interacting with. I interacted with him then, and he told me that he had actually been posted to the office of coordinator of intelligence, the Minister of Security, the Minister of Security. He was posted to the Ministry of Security with some ill-defined role. He was basically, and this was his own understanding, that he was posted there to be monitored from there. That was the understanding he had.
So that maybe he doesn't go political.
Because,
so let him be
just like when they say they release you on bail, and say keep on reporting every week to make sure. That's how he believed his attachment to the Minister of Security was meant to be, because he said he was really not getting any benefits from there. In fact, he was looked at as an enemy from there. Especially, he did not have kind words for General Tumwine, who was a minister for security.
And he was a colleague.
I think when he was... Tumwine may have found even him already posted there. But he said, Tumwine really treated him like he was a fugitive, that was a danger to the ministry. So he was there, but clearly from his own words, he had no support. He had no role. He was not doing, according to him, he was not doing any job, and certainly not getting any reward, because he was literally doing nothing. And so he clearly, had huge challenges. He's a person who, from what he told me, had a lot of obligations. He also had challenges within his own family. Parts of his family, I think, did not want to see him. And so he had those challenges. Now, of course, when I said, that he had been deserted by his comrades and his family, I have had, expressions of, why do you talk about this? Must you mention this? Must you even say that he did not have money for medicine? And my very clear conscience is, yes, I think we need to talk about how we treat each other when we serve our country.
Yes, yes, yes.
And the point here is that there must be equity. There must be people in the same situation must be treated the same way.
Because, Doctor, that leaves everyone wondering how he was treated and how other people were treated.
Yes, yes.
When you also talked about others being promoted to the ranks of generals, yet they were all in the same, level.
And he's not the only one who has, even if he was believed to have made a mistake, he's not the only one who would have made such a mistake. And in any case, in his case, he was acquitted. Yes. He was tried and acquitted, and but there are those who have, even pleaded guilty that I took a bribe.
Later you find them appointed and promoted.
Yes,
given ranks.
So it's that should concern us, and it's that I think our country should reflect on. I am not judgmental on how Kashillingi lived his life. He may have made mistakes. We all make mistakes. I have no capacity to judge Kashillingi or any other person. This is why even for my other colleagues who have been in better places and have even acted in a hostile way towards me, I don't judge them. It's not my duty to judge them. But commenting on the circumstances in which all this is happening is, I think, fair and necessary that we should examine, how those who, this is why even the debate now going on, that you have a teacher, one teacher treated this way, another teacher treated another. It's simply wrong. You must have that if I'm a teacher, a science teacher, but now a headmaster, and I earn less than if I was not. It's ridiculous, and that is so. If you want those who have served to be honored, create a system that honors them. How do you choose those who get medals? Why wouldn't Kashillingi even merit? Because there is a medal for those who simply participated in the bush war. Regardless, if you were in the bush, you are entitled to a medal. Why wouldn't Kashillingi be given such a medal, at least? Or me, for that. No.
Doctor, you've also never received anything.
No, not that I am eager to hear it. In fact, even if they gave it to me, I wouldn't go. Because they have been totally dishonored.
The medal.
Yes, and the ones giving them, I cannot receive, it is like a medal of dishonor. But the principle is,
Yes.
you know, that these...
At least let you be listed and you decline to it.
If you have said anybody who participated in the Bush War is entitled to this, then list them.
Yes.
List who they are and say these, therefore, have these medals. Including even those who died posthumously, award them. So let's know who is entitled, you know? Not that you wake up and you hear somebody because he's shouting somebody's name in a campaign. The next day he's on the dais being awarded a medal. You know, that's what it's for. For those very reasons that I can never take a medal from the hands of such, because the hands are themselves have discredited themselves. You are no longer a fountain of honor. You see, that the reason they say a president is a fountain of honor is that the president must, him or herself, be the most honorable person in order to honor others. So, if you are not just, if you don't have any principle of justice in whatever you are honoring, then how can you be an honorable person? So Kashillingi did not get any medal in spite of having participated in all that and having executed his missions and so on, and not having been found to be guilty of anything. Indeed, even how those who are suspected of having committed offenses are treated is something we must talk about. There are many people, and human rights bodies should take interest in the numbers of people who are in military service that are in detention for long periods without trial.
Those in military service?
Yes, without trial, or some passed through kangaroo courts and detained for long periods. It's unbelievable. In fact, the military is a center for, you know, untold human rights abuses. I can say this without the slightest fear of contradiction. You know, there is a fellow who spent 10 years here in Makindi, you know, a captain, 10 years without any, with no trial, nothing, you know, 10 years of his life. So, you know, the kind of abuses that happen within the military, because there is no mechanism for, unlike in the civilian life where maybe relatives can run to court and, you know, seek intervention according to the law and so on. Here, we under the military code of conduct, they can do all kinds of things for years and you have no redress. So that is partly also what befell Kashillingi, because there was no reason, you know, if you suspect somebody to have burnt an office, investigate. What is stopping you to investigate? And if you have grounds for trial, take him to court and try him. You know, why must you go and surround the house and you know, and later on, even when you have gone to all the extent of going to capture him from Congo, you have no evidence. So why did you go to Congo to capture him when you even had no evidence? So he was kept for 6 years before he was tried. Yet, what he was being tried of, he had committed 10 years earlier. So why didn't you investigate, have evidence? At least if you have arrested him, put him on trial immediately, you know? And that is what is going on, you know, with not just the people in the military, but can happen to any Ugandan. That somebody who simply has malice on you for any reason and has some power will arrest you and put any form of charge on you. Say, you know, he defiled somebody, or he was committing treason, and you will be in jail. And they want now to make sure that it's not possible to have bail. So you are in jail without bail for years and eventually nothing. You know, this is a matter. So my comments on Kashilingi are intended to really cause a reflection on the state of injustice that the whole system of the state is perpetuating, not just the military, but certainly for my colleagues, my comrades who are still serving in the military, they are in an untold, compromised situation there. And that's why it has been very difficult even to retire from the military, because you are a captive there and they can do anything they want with you. Like you saw other people, you know, like General Tumukunde, when he spent I don't know how many years languishing, because somebody has ascribed some kind of a charge on you. You languish there for 10 years, you know. It is a hell lot of time in one's lifetime, you know, that is taken away, you know, very, very unfairly. So this is a matter on which we need to talk. The injustice in facilities, you know, you find a senior officer has nothing. He doesn't have a vehicle. He's walking on foot. Nobody knows where he sleeps. You know, yet you find a sergeant who is well connected. You know, is living in a posh place, in the what, because he is connected. That's not, you know, that's how even this whole thing, like people like Seiko, Juma Seiko, that you would see Juma Seiko, I don't know what his rank eventually was. I think he rose maybe to, I don't know whether he became a major or something, but he was the, you know, the most powerful person with big vehicles, and because he was related to Saleh. And there are so many such people, relatives especially.
So, Doctor, what is being done to these the Bush war heroes? It seems all of them were ending dissatisfied and no package.
I can't say all. I think some are quite happy, but definitely there have been many that have had a very, very, you know, clumsy treatment, you know, who have been treated very, very poorly. And I'm not saying that because you participate in the bush, you are entitled to live a king's life. No. I mean, we went, as I have said, those of us who went to the bush did not go to seek to become career public servants. No, we went simply to fight for our freedom. And in fact, quite many of us wanted to leave as soon as the war ended. We wanted to get on with our lives in other spheres. We didn't have to go on in the military. But the point I am simply saying is this, that there has to be a system that is fair to all, that treats all in the same way and in a fair way. Injustice that is built in this is what must be fought. Not fighting for privileges, no, but fighting for a just system that treats all people decently and fairly.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, Doctor, as we are still continuing with the security and then discussing the military, we also want to look at the attacks on police stations. You seemed to highlight as if this seems to be a pattern somewhere. And what are we missing as a country?
Well, I don't know whether there is anything we are missing as a country, because violence is not something strange in Uganda. Everybody is fairly familiar and used to a lot of violence. The pattern that I was talking about is that the attacks on police do not appear to be of simply a criminal nature, the usual crime of people who are, trying to sort of personal problems, either personal vendettas or personal acquisitions or things like that. The pattern that is evolving is that this is political violence.
Sure.
This violence of a political nature. Because, first of all, it is not associated with, for example, robbery, taking, even when those people who are attacked have things that would attract an ordinary criminal, they are not touched. The ones who attacked Busika actually told people to close their shops.
You don't want anything in your shops, you don't want your money?
Yes, they told people to close shops before they did whatever they did and went away. And there has also been some pattern in the times at which they attack and the manner of attack. You can see a pattern, and the target of taking guns.
Yes.
So I think there is a political motive to this. And the question, therefore, that I think then follows is what could be the motive?
Yes.
And who could
be behind?
Are
there groups that are forming up?
Yes.
Once again?
And I don't have an answer, but I think there is one very clear source of this that I can talk about, and that is the popular discontent, the popular unhappiness, anger, in fact, especially in central Uganda.
Okay.
Which has been, expressed many times. There is unrest. There is unrest.
Okay.
There is discontent, very palpable discontent. Wherever you touch, you can feel it. The discontent amongst people, ordinary people. The anger, you can feel it. And this is why people, who don't have critical analysis of the situations can be deceived to say there is peace in Uganda because they are not seeing daily guns firing. They think there is peace. No, the absence of war is not peace. Uganda is at an explosive point. It can and will explode if specific interventions are not undertaken urgently.
Urgently.
Yes. So that, I think, the discontent, the anger, the unrest in the population is behind that violence, gun violence, attacking of the police. That's what I think. That unrest is behind. And, you know, anybody who was here in 2009, during the, what is now popularly known as the Kayunga riots,
The riots, yes.
will have tested a bit of that
That
anger that is, you know, lying there. That was 13 years ago. It has gotten much, much, much worse.
The anger.
The anger than it was in 2009. So now my sense is that this political violence, armed violence, could come from two sources of that anger. It could come from angry population organizing itself to fight.
Okay.
In other words, becoming insurgent. We may be seeing...
They're picking up arms.
Yes,
now.
we may be seeing the beginnings of an insurgency, organized fighting against the state. Alternatively, it could also be preemptive. It could also be that the state could engineer. That is also a possibility, that the state could engineer
It's a line of thought.
in order to preemptively strike and cripple and disable, at least for some time, those who may want to do what I am talking about. And this, I think, would not be entirely, dismissible.
Okay.
That kind of mind. Because don't forget, we are still interrogating what happened in Kasese.
Yes.
Because the violence in Kasese, I have been saying very categorically that it was election violence. The violence that happened in Kasese in November 2016. My sense, very clear sense, is that it was related with the election of 2016. Where, despite all kinds of things that the state and Mr. Museveni had done to try and take over Kasese politically.
Yes.
Including giving, lavish favors to the kingdom there, the Osinga, and doing all kinds of things. In 2016, Kasese NRM was totally whitewashed. It was annihilated from Kasese. And then they said that they were rebels.
In the kingdom.
After that, the rebels emerged in the kingdom,
in the palace,
trying to create a state of Ira state. And then Erweru and his team went, and we still have hundreds of people in prisons. We still have people in mass graves in Kasese. The king is, of course, still in prison here. So, I am not saying that is happening or going to happen here, but interrogating the political armed violence that we are seeing, my sense is that, first of all, it's related with the unquestionable discontent, anger, unrest in central Uganda. And either that's translating into people who are fighting for their freedom, because don't forget, you know, all these young people they are capturing and torturing in drones and killing and all the things that are going on. They are the very things that forced us to go to the bush. If nobody had arrested me and tortured me, I would never have gone to the bush, I'm sure.
True that.
But when I realized that I could have died for no reason, being accused of doing something that I actually haven't done, I said, okay, it's the right time to do it then, and save myself. So that is a distinct possibility. You will not continue capturing people in drones and torturing them and killing them without getting a response. It can come.
So, Doctor, could we expect more attacks on police stations? And
I can say that we should expect more violence. However it plays out, we should very clearly expect more violence, which is very, very unfortunate. Because I have been saying again that, you know, part of the many people that came to support my candidature in 2001, in fact, came to support me because they said, aha, now we have a colonel. So, to wave humor, give us...
give us guns. So that we take them on.
Yes, give us guns now and we solve this problem. So they saw me as a leader of another rebellion, armed rebellion.
Doctor, people have a thinking here that the only change that we can still have is that.
Yes, and you see that thinking is understandable, because those who have power, that's what they are saying themselves. Okay. They are saying, you know, we came through the furnace. So a piece of paper cannot take us away. So if you want to take us away, you must come with what we came with. You know, that's their campaign. Okay. And the reason they say so, and the reason indeed I am saying they could even be the ones using those means preemptively, is because that is where they are strongest. You see, a regime which is based on force builds force to protect it. And so they are strongest where the guns are. And tactically, it's wrong to strike, to attack an enemy at their point of strength.
Yeah.
You look for where they are weak.
Okay.
You look for the Achilles heel. That's what they call the Achilles heel. Where they are weak is where you strike. So if we want to remove the regime tactically, it's wrong to say we pick up guns to fight. Okay. But secondly, and that's what I have been laboring all these years to convince, and I believe I have convinced the greatest majority of people, that we can defeat guns without using guns. And that is very, very necessary, because if we use guns to defeat guns, the new guns will remain a problem for the country. We used the guns from the NRA Bush to defeat the UNLA. It is the NRA which is a problem now. The UNLA had defeated the UA, and the UNLA became the problem. So if we pick guns and defeat the UPDF, the guns that have defeated the UPDF become the new problem. Violence keeps on creating even more violence. So our opposition to the use of force is ideological. First, that tactically it's not the best, you know. Even when we went to the bush, we left 500,000 people dead. Yet we can defeat these without that kind of cost. But secondly, and more importantly, is that what we need to have is to defeat the guns and have subordination of the armed by the unarmed. So we must, those unarmed must subordinate the armed. That's how democratic societies are built. Everywhere where you see the democratic society, they had to go through that stage of demonstrating to the armed that the unarmed are stronger than them. And that's what we are in the process of doing. And we shall do it. And we will not be pioneering. There are many, many examples to go by to show that those who are armed cannot be as strong as those who are unarmed, provided those who are unarmed know what to do.
Okay. Thank you, Doctor. We are still here. We want to go for a short break, and when we return, there are a number of issues that we want to look into. We want to look into the protest in DRC, and we also want to look into the way the funds, the Ebola funds, are being used here in the country. We shall also give you a minute or a few minutes to call in and also have your comments. Please stay with us. We are just coming back.
Alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.
Are you guys ready? Okay, let's serve Uganda. As promised, we deliver. We are redefining the social media narrative, asking tough questions and holding your leaders accountable. We are non-partisan and break down having a conversation with Uganda.
We are the Mighty Drive. We hold debates that give you viable solutions. We bring to you people that Ivora is wanting to listen to. We are gender sensitive and give space to the unheard voices. Not forgetting the quote of the day.
We are live on our social media platforms, The Alternative Uganda on Facebook, YouTube and Twitter from Monday to Friday, 7 to 9 a.m. Don't miss the debate behind the wheels and our studios.
I am Edgar Matthew Karuhanga.
Farida Vikobiri.
And Princess Luwe Delidian.
Expect in-depth analysis, credible, factual and authentic information. We are the Alternative Digitalk.
Real issues, real talk.
How you beautiful Ugandans, it's your girl Lt Angel. Welcome to the fancy floor. Who doesn't see my hair, guys? I am super glamorous. Remember, this is the only show where we're going to be talking about fashion. Please, where are you think? Teaching. What has been confusing you about fashion? Sorry, you said I should not smile. For all the information about fashion, maintenance of body shape.
I can wear bling bling when I'm going out. So you can wear bling bling going out or any occasion.
We shall be doing all this in the fancy floor. Remember, it airs every Thursday right from 8:30 to 9 with your girl, Teddy Tenjo. It is the fancy floor.
Fellow citizens, following the sequence of events, Uganda seems to be at political crossroads.
I'm not a servant of anybody.
Madam, I know the law.
As such, Alternative Digitalk brings you the Interface Show with retired Colonel Dr. Kizza Besigye.
Let's keep on the same page on Alternative Digitalk,
As he gives you the alternatives on the transition question, rule of law, human rights and freedom, youth inclusion in governance, economic stagnation, as he confirms.
I'll be always here Saturday from 10 a.m. in the morning. Be there.
Don't miss the live discussion on the Alternative Uganda, Digitalk TV Facebook pages, and the Alternative Uganda YouTube channel.
The Alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.
The Alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk. Welcome back from that short break, and we are still here with Dr. Kizza Besigye on the interface. Doctor was still trying, and he was still emphasizing that the only best way that we can have the change that we want is if we make these people who have the guns subordinate to those who don't have the guns. And doctor, is that really possible? And
well,
how can it be done?
Yes, it's very possible. And when I say this, some people say, you are opposing those who may want to take up guns and do something. No, I don't oppose them. I took up guns myself. So I understand their feeling. I understand, and the guns are potent. You see, one thing, the people whom I completely, depart from are those who think that they can remove a military regime like we have simply by voting.
Those ones, you totally oppose them.
Yes, because that was the intention. The intention of our going to the bush was that we would have a transition, that the armed would organize a transition to the unarmed, that the power would shift from the armed to the unarmed through an organized transition. That was the plan of NRM. But anybody who has been following what has happened since then up to now and still believes that you can have Mr. Museveni, whom I have said also captured the military itself, because the military, which was supposed to organize a transition, is also captive, by this family rule. So there is no way any captured institution can organize an election that leads to a handover of power. It won't happen. And if you are still thinking about that, you are in a political party saying, we are going to mobilize and go to the election, and there will be a function at Kororo where Museveni will come to hand over power. You must be delusional. That will not happen.
It will not?
No. Or to think that, you know, now, surely this Museveni should see that there's going to be chaos, you know, which we are talking about.
Yes.
Surely we should have dialogue with him and he hands over power. That will not happen.
Sure.
You know, no, it will not happen. It can only happen when he is sufficiently threatened by an organized population and all signs are clear on the wall that he no longer has a room to manipulate, to maneuver, that his elbow space is completely finished. So then he can negotiate his way out. And that's what any dialogue would be about. There should not be a dialogue that, you know, we want to change the rules. No. Dialogue must be how to get out. And then Ugandans organize themselves and the power they get on how to go forwards. After this junta has gone out. So any dialogue must be on how the junta goes. But that will not happen unless you have defeated.
Put pressure on him.
Not just pressure, defeated the junta, and now they are negotiating how to go. So the only way to cause that change is to fight. That's why I am not excluding those who want to take guns, because it's a potent way, except that it yields wrong results. But it can cause change. Not the change we want. But maybe if they are doing something and others are doing something, maybe we can see how to
join the two forces.
Maybe. But I am not among those who say, you know, anybody who takes up guns is politically is should be killed. No, because you, Museveni, whom they are taking up guns against, that's what you did. You showed the way.
So you should not kill those who are taking
So
up
you should not. You should understand. He should be the most understanding about why people would take up guns, because he did, and did so after a rigged election. You know. In fact, an election where he was not expected to win. So the question, what for me, the preoccupation before we leave this point, the preoccupation for me is how then do citizens overcome the guns and establish their own authority? And they have to do two things. I will continue talking about them until people understand. First, they must, in their own minds, get to understand that they can defeat their enslavement. First of all, they have to appreciate that they are living in enslavement, in capture. They must know that they are in captivity. Somebody who is not, whose mind is not even conscious that they are in captivity will not fight against it. And there is a bit of that because they have lived in captivity for more than a century. They have not just been in captivity under this Museveni regime, but from the time the British came, even sometimes before that. So the question is, can you get out of that captivity? And the answer should be yes. And it's the conscious. So we must conscientize each other. Wherever you are, Nixon, wherever you live, you must make sure that those you play with, you work with, you live with, that they understand that they have a duty to cause this change. Because there is still a lot up to now of people saying, Banange mutuyambe. As if somebody else will do it for them.
To do it for them.
Criticizing us na yene Besigye temuina kye mukola, you know. Yes, they see it as a duty of others.
Yes.
That must change. Everybody must see that they have a duty. Secondly, is to organize those who now realize that they have a duty to link up and act together. And once we link up, the rest is history. We can take actions without guns that will end this gun rule in 1 week. Yes, we can. Okay. You know, I have been saying that we defeated the British colonial power here. The British were the makers of guns and so on. We defeated them. What's wrong with the young people now that they cannot make the determination and organization to defeat these ones who are using second-hand guns? It's possible. And so, first, let everybody understand, especially the young people who are suffering in the schools, at the university, they are the ones who cause change, you know? Okay. When we went to the bush, indeed, we were young people. So young people must organize, must conscientize others, organize to end this. And we can end it, and we shall end it. So for me, I'm not despondent. I think this will end. Okay. And will end by those without guns defeating those with guns and subordinating them so that they become servants. You hear Museveni now saying, I am not a servant of anybody. Anybody with a gun must agree that I am a servant. And that's when we shall have peace.
Okay. Doctor, we want also to cross to what happened in DRC. What does that speak to our relations with DRC? Could we see President Tshisekedi perhaps also rising up to terminate our relations and then ending Operation Shuja as the protesters are demanding?
Well, DRC finds itself in a very, very difficult situation. That will really take determined and capable leadership to negotiate DRC out of that trouble. Okay. And it must be done by the people of DRC, primarily. I think what they are trying to do now will actually complicate the situation more than solve it. You know, this one of taking Kenyans, Ugandans, Tanzanians, Sudanese, anybody to come that they are going to solve the problems of Congo. I think for me it's a mistake. Okay. Congolese must solve their problems. And they should be helped. They should simply be helped to solve their problems. If what they need in order to train their own forces is training facilities, give them training facilities and train them so that they have capacity to solve their problems. Don't try to come in to fight on their behalf. It will not work. The ones who are going there very soon, you'll hear them shipping timber, coffee, and gold and what and fight. It won't help. So now, if others then are out of the picture, and my own sense is they are simply taking the wrong direction. Just like they have been in Somalia, you know, that they are trying to, because Somalia was destabilized by foreigners, actually. And the chaos in Somalia has been sustained by foreign interests. And that's the trouble in Congo, because as I said, it finds itself in a very unfortunate situation where there are myriads of interests. Foreign interests that have no interest in the welfare of Congolese. but who are looking for wealth in Congo, you know? Okay. All kinds of foreign interests that are in Congo. So the question is, how do the Congolese then assert their will and organize to, and as I have said, they should be assisted by the whole of Africa, not just these East African neighbors, because East African neighbors are also part of the problem. Actually,
Doctor, Uganda is being accused of
precisely because you see they are part.
Rwanda is also
the local people here are part of the problem. Some of which problem is historical because of the borders, the artificial borders that we have, and which remain entirely porous. Because, you know, I come from a border district. Now, you know, Rukunjiri still has a border with Congo. Although the large part of the border we had with Congo is now in Kanungu district that was formed out of Rukunjiri district. But even Rukunjiri district still has a border with Congo through the lake. There are people in Rukunjiri, now in Kanungu, who grow their food in Congo.
I see.
So they crossed into Congo
During
to dig.
the day in the morning.
Yes, they dig in Congo, they sleep in Uganda. You know, you know, this kind of a situation is inherently problematic, you know, and that is a historical problem.
Okay.
So now, Congo must create, because in all these countries, you see, including the insecurity in Uganda, which we were talking about, what underpins it is injustice. So, Congo, working with Congolese and amongst Congolese, must aim at instituting a just system that includes all people. Part of the reason many people in Eastern Congo have been fighting is that they don't see the government. The people that they call themselves Mai Mai, the Mai Mais are a government of their own. You know, they are totally detached from Kinshasa. They have no social services of any kind. You know, they are excluded. And so they start organizing themselves as a government also to defend themselves, to advance their interests. That's what must. So the people of Africa, not just these ones who are also going to look for all kinds of things in Congo. The people of Africa, as the problem is that
Kenya has also sent their army to help.
Yeah, it's actually the leading force now in the what has been constituted as the East African force, which, as I have said, is simply a wrong approach. The forces won't solve it. Congo has been having a United Nations force of one of the largest in the world. It is MONUSCO has a force of about 16,000 soldiers. United Nations forces, which has been there for decades. You know, what has it done? So even if you take another one, you know, it will just complicate the problem. So what Africa should do, and there are institutions even in the African Union, but that never work, not surprisingly, because just like most of the governments in Africa are dysfunctional, so will they
don't work.
but what they should do is to create the supportive mechanisms, see what Congo needs, and support them to do it without interfering, without becoming part of the fray. You know, if it is creating a social infrastructure that Congo needs, a political infrastructure that they need, a legal and constitutional infrastructure that will help them to do. Give them technical support to achieve that, and let them then pacify the country, just like we ourselves, because all of those who are interfering are carrying their own problem. You know, Uganda is insecure itself. We have just been talking about the insecurity here, and the clear possibility of an explosion here. Now, you are also that you are going to solve the problems of Congo, of Somalia, of Mali.
Sudan.
Now we have sent soldiers to Mali. We have soldiers in Central African Republic. We have soldiers in taking even the literal resources that are needed here to solve the immense problems that we were talking about, which are creating the the anger in the country. People without health care, people without the money being taken, the literal money there is being taken, that you are going to intervene in other people's situations. So I think it's a wrong approach.
Okay.
I think Congo can be helped without, becoming part of the melee of actors within Congo, or if they think that the force, the East African force, can do what the United Nations force is not doing, why not engage the United Nations force to make sure that it does what you are trying to do yourself? Or even create an African force supported by the United Nations. If you think that there is something the United Nations could have done. But these neighbors that you call neighbors and so on, when indeed the point you were raising was, even as they are going, already there is a demonstration against
them.
They are coming. So how can that solve the problem? I really don't see. And that demonstration is by ordinary people. You see, it should be studied. Okay. What is causing that? Yes, I have had suggestions that the impending election in Congo could be used by those who are now preparing themselves to contest, to gain political leverage by appearing to be strong against, having rhetoric that is against the neighbors. That may be so, but why would those facing an election see that as a popular thing? That if they
that's the card.
Yes, so
that card,
yes,
yeah.
so there is more to it that one needs to understand. And for our case here, it's not surprising, because there is a report, as you know, of looting Congo, a former United Nations report
There is a report.
United Nations report of Uganda looting and plundering Congo.
Doctor, as we still continue with that, I want to give a chance to our callers. You can join this discussion and call us on 0789 017 145. 0789 017 145. You can also call us on 0759 132 310. 0759 132 310. You can also keep sending in your comments and we shall be reading them. Doctor, there is a comment here. One says, not to sound primitive, but if I may ask Dr. KB, or maybe Congo is unstable because it is too big. Therefore, dividing it as was with Sudan maybe can bring relatively peace. What's your view on that, Doctor? There is also one called Jos Nekite, says, Besigye and Muntu, you are indirectly supporting your Bush fellow criminals. Museveni, Muhozi. That's Jos Nekite. That's a comment from that one. Ochien Timothy says, perfectly stated that this might be elements within the government trying to stage a preemptive measure. Yeah, he was still asserting and adding to what, Doctor, you were saying. Yes, Doctor, as you were still taking us through that report and then comments coming in, Congo is big, maybe we divide it, maybe it can bring relief. And this, let's
well, anybody who suggests that Congo should be divided because it is big, again, must be thinking with the feet.
That's why he put a disclaimer that he may sound primitive.
Because,
okay.
You know, the trajectory in the whole world is towards coming together. You know, the Europeans, they are fighting to form the European Union, coming together. Africa, right from the time of independence, we are
fighting to
come together. East Africa, part of the whole effort going on is about East African integration. That's how even those who are going to Congo claim they are going there for East African togetherness.
Yes.
And you see, and you can divide politics until you reach the family. There will be differences, and if size is the cause, you can have a state for each family.
Okay.
Because you are talking about the Sudan. So the Sudan was divided.
Yes.
There is now Sudan and Southern Sudan. Is there peace in Southern Sudan? Absolutely not.
Okay.
Is there even peace in the Northern Sudan? Absolutely not. So peace has nothing to do with the size.
Okay.
You know, China is a continent. You know, India has a population of about 1.3, I think now, billion people. You know?
Okay.
It's functioning peacefully as one country, the country of India. You know, so to suggest that the problem of Congo is the size, it would not be born out of any, you know, empirical evidence that size is a basis for insecurity. On the other hand, it would be the strength, you know.
Okay.
It would be the strength. Nigeria, which is, of course, also having some challenges internally, you know, is functioning as one country much bigger than Congo in terms of population, at least. So, no, I think that should be dismissed with the contempt it deserves. But not that there will not be people
who will push for it.
And more so, I think Uganda may not be without that kind of ambition of also having, like we have Southern Sudan that is more or less...
South Sudan.
South Sudan that is more or less colonized
by Uganda.
there may be ambitions of having a part of Congo, even as they talk about integration of East Africa. But I think anybody thinking in that direction is thinking in a dangerous direction and an unhelpful one.
So, Doctor, you are reminding us of the report about the M23. And
yes, I was saying that,
the UN report that pointed
Uganda
to voting
was indicted.
Yes.
Both by the United Nations for plundering Congo, but also by the International Court of Justice. We have a conviction as criminals, as a country, that we plundered. And this is a terrible thing, because we were not involved. Ugandans were not involved. But people carrying our flag, wearing our uniforms, plundered Congo, and we are convicted. And we internally should actually pursue them. Who are these criminals amongst us that are spoiling our name? So even now, the payment of Congo,
yes,
I understand, has started.
Yes.
Maybe even the roads they are talking about building in Congo is part of that payment, I don't know. But who caused that loss? And why wouldn't Congolese think about us negatively, therefore? Why should we be surprised that Congolese see us as robbers, as people who are up to no good in Congo? They have a reason to do so. So, I think that, as I have said, we are not the solution in Congo. Certainly, the claim that we are there to hunt ADF, we have talked about this a lot, is ridiculous, because there are insurgents here in Uganda causing all kinds of problems. They are, they have been here, and as long as we have problems in Uganda, we shall have insurgency, whether they are in Congo, whether they are in Uganda, whether they are in Sudan, as long as there is injustice here. So sort of the problem that promotes the formation of anti-government forces, interrogate what those anti-government forces are doing. So now the question of some of us, I have heard this, saying,
yes,
you Besigye must,
you are supporting.
Now I heard that one say, Besigye Muntu, because you came with people from the bush, you are telling lies, you are not opposing them, you are actually supporting them. Again, it's worrying. I get very, very worried, that we have a country where we are having increasingly many people thinking with their bottoms. It's worrying, and it should worry all you got. I tell you,
they should hear you loudly.
Yeah, we should be worried as a country. When you see how people reason, and you say, these are the people, who are
together in the bush,
who are competing with the ones going to the moon and the ones going to Mars. And you have these ones reasoning like this and competing. You can see that we have a threat of existence. We shall disappear if we continue reasoning. If that type of reasoning multiplies itself in the country, this country, Africa will be extinct. You know, there is an existential threat born out of lack of knowledge and thought. You know, we are.
So, Doctor, what is causing these people to think like that?
It's something we should interrogate. You know, it's really something we should interrogate. Of course, the environment in which they are born and grow matters, which is the reason we should work over time to create an environment that stimulates people differently. You know, I think it is part of the problem. But, you know, so you have somebody who thinks that maybe some of us
that you have created
are the problem. Fine. But what about the greatest majority of those you see who are torturing people, the ones you see killing people on the streets? They are young people. They were not in the bush. You know, the ones who are actually in the drones, capturing people, killing them, doing all the terror that is going on, they were not in the bush. They are young people. So are those also, you know, doing that because they are supporting their bush comrades? We've just been talking about a bush comrade who died in a terrible situation. So was that bush comrade part of the support that you are talking about? You know? So the thing is that, you know, frankly, you know, and it's good they talk, because then we become aware of the problem, you know, of those really who are, who should encourage us to work extremely hard and fast to change the situation in this country. Because otherwise, these will even become the majority, you know, people without heads, you know, will become the majority in our country. And where will the country be? Where will Africa be? If, you know, people are, as I have said, people are thinking about how to dominate the space, you know? And we here, you know, we are just trapped in you know, complete, you know, absence of priority in what we think about and what can save our lot, you know. Because anybody who has any mind will know that the NRM junta is a disaster for this country, you know. And we've spent our lives, we've been to prisons, we have lost dear ones fighting to end it.
They presume that all those are games. Those are games.
Yes, and then you hear somebody speaking from his bottom. But it's the reality. I mean, it's the reality we have, that it's our country. It's it did not create itself.
Okay, Doctor, we have a
simply
caller.
Have to deal with it.
Yes, hello.
Hello.
Yes. Thank you. Hello.
Amanya gange nze Katongole Elias ndikamucha.
Yes, sebo Katongole Elias.
Nenda mu Luganda kwa olw'ensobola okutegeera obulungi.
Kale naye tujja kusaba weeyongereko emabega n'essimu eyo kw'otulabira.
Mulamusiza nnyo kubanga asomesa obwenkanidde awo. Era tumwebaza nnyo. Nammwe abadikito mwebale nnyo kubanga mutuwa omwaganya, kubanga TV ezimu n'ezimu zitya okusaza Dr. Kizza Besigye. Njagala kuwebaza nti mwe mwasalawo ne mutatya kusiisibwa pulezidenti ne mumukyaza. Mwebale nnyo, mwebali eddala. Naye tenjagala okubuuza ku dokita, abaana b'abalwanyi abasinga bonna n'abaganya abaddewo nga tebafiiriddwa gavumenti y'omusajja ng'ate tulabanga mutabani we yalingira amagye mu 1999 nga ssaawa yaliro kati jenu walabanga emitendera egimu yagibuuka tewakalo gino yakafa kati ssaawa zino oba kane yakafa kati ssaawa zina ku bbiri emabega eyakola ekyamanyi okulangata gavumenti afuddemu nga nekyokwesubula obujjanjabi nga talina gavumenti olowooza okuzadde okulanga bagifuna abaana bakyasigaddewo oba nobalidde kufa kwabwe oba ne kutuweereza
tweyanziza nnyo tweyanzeege
yayogedde oluvannyuma ebyo sibiwulidde bulungi biwulidde
tetubifunye bulungi naye simanyi oba osobodde okupikinga ensonga baana b'abalwanyi
okusooka bwana Katongole Erias webale okubeera nga ogoberera program era n'okubanga owagira enteekateeka eno ey'okubanga tukubaganya ebirowoozo buli lwa mukaaga ebisobola okuwa oba okuluŋŋamya ebimu ku by'obufuzi ebigenda mu maaso. Ensonga ya munaffe eyatugenzeeko gye watukoonyeeko ng'oyogera ne ku mutabani we embeera gy'alimu ne gy'avudde, eyo sijja kugigendako nnyo. Kituufu mutabani we abadde mu ofiisi za gavumenti, yali akola nga munnamateeka mu State House, era kirabika yafuniramu nnyo mu kukolaganira awamu n'abali mu buyinza, naye ebirala ebimufaako kubanga ndowooza mu State House yavaamu, ebimufaako sibigoberera, era ngeri gye yeeyisizaamu n'engeri gyakwataganamu n'ensonga ya munaffe yatugenzeeko, sirina busobozi obugitegeera n'okugyogerako. Nga bwe ngambye mu mutimbagano messages ezimu zempandiise, ye omugenzi yantegeeza ye kennyini nga abamu mu bantu be nga bwe bamukyawa era nga tebakolagana naye. So ekyo nsobodde kukyogerako.
Okay, Doctor, as we are coming towards the end, we wanted to pick your thought on the new resolution now about our oil. We are seeing EU now, a new resolution is coming up, giving Uganda now a go-ahead to continue with EACOP.
You see, there has been a wrong emphasis on what Europeans say about our situation and our wealth and what we do with it. Certainly, they have a legitimate say. I am not among those who say how can they talk about our matters here, we are independent people. No, we live in one environment. The global environment is one.
True.
And we all have a say in what they do there as much as they must have a say what we do here that affects the environment. In fact, that's why there is a meeting that is going to start, what they call the COP, whatever, where all world leaders meet to discuss our environment. What affects our climate is not what happens in Uganda. It's what happens globally. So it is very, very poor thinking to say Europeans should not talk about what happens here in our environment. But having said that, in the matter of the oil,
yes,
for us, Ugandans, our biggest concern, yes, we are concerned about the environment,
okay,
but even for that environment to be cared for prudently, to be cared for in a responsible way, we need a responsible and accountable system of government here, which is not there. We have a very destructive and extractive regime. They have destroyed all the wetlands in Uganda. Forget, the Europeans are not talking about our wetlands, which they have destroyed. They have destroyed the forests here, which have now led to all these mudslides and river banks bursting and causing floods all over the place. This has been destroyed under the watch
of the European.
Of this junta.
Okay.
36 years. The miles of forests destroyed under the NRM junta are documented, unbelievable destruction of forests under the junta, which is still going on even as we talk in Bunyoro, in northern Uganda, in Busoga, in the destruction of the environment without any accountability, So that is a concern for us.
Okay.
Whether the Europeans are concerned or not, we don't mind.
Whether they pass resolutions.
Whether they pass resolutions or not, we ourselves must make our own resolutions. And if we have not, and they do, we should not condemn them. We should know that they are simply condemning us for not having made our own condemnation of what is going on. So, our point is that the oil, if it is going to have environmental effect, that effect could be contained if we have a responsible government that we don't. But secondly, it's not about the environment. It's about where that oil resource is going. Is it going to serve the people of Uganda or to keep them under the terrible conditions they are in? Will the oil be for good or for worse? And as it is, it can only be for worse. To equip those who are holding us into slavery to have the capacity to even entrench that holding us in slavery more. Just see what the money they are borrowing.
Yes.
Are they borrowing to ease the situation of those who can't pay school fees? Are they borrowing to ease the situation of those who have patients in hospitals and who have no beds to sleep on? No. Is that why they are borrowing? Absolutely not. So the oil will do exactly the same. And so our Ugandans, if they are serious, they should simply demand that our oil shouldn't flow into the pockets of our captors. In other words, we must first free the oil to be helpful to the country, because the oil is part of what is captured. That's why Mr. Museveni has been calling it my oil. My oil. That is what should not be allowed. And whether the Europeans have a say on that or not is not our business. In fact, the Europeans are part of the problem. Total, which is going to be taking most of the money from our oil, is going to be taking it to Europe. So the Europeans stand to benefit from the oil more than ourselves. So what the Europeans resolve or don't resolve is totally secondary to our own needs. We must demand that our oil doesn't flow until we have control over it. The people of Uganda have control over it, period.
Unfortunately, we have to come to the end of this edition.
Oh, so soon.
Just right here. As you heard the Colonel says, so soon. Indeed, there is a lot that we needed to touch, but because of time, we must get out of here. Doctor, your parting shot as we leave.
Well, I didn't realize that the program had moved so quickly, but I am an eternal optimist. I believe in God, and I believe that God has made us to win, to live better lives. And he has endowed our country with unbelievable, conditions, wonderful conditions, great resources, both natural resources, but also people. And so I think the sooner we really work to benefit the country, the whole country, from what we have, the better. And I believe it will happen. That's why I wake up every day. That's why I never get tired of moving to cause the changes that need to be caused, and together we can do it. So I wish you a great week ahead. In spite of the huge challenges we still grapple with, may the Lord bless all of you. And thank you for hosting me always. And great thanks to the Alternative Uganda and the Interface program.
Okay, thank you, Doctor. Thank you for the wonderful time. And to you, our viewers, the conversation still continues on our pages. Please go subscribe to our pages, like our page, Alternative Uganda, and you will be following a lot more is still to come. I remain your host, Nixon Segawa. Have a wonderful weekend.
Alternative Digitalk. Real issues, real talk.
Are you guys ready? Okay, let's serve Uganda. As promised, we deliver. We are redefining the social media narrative, asking tough questions and holding your leaders accountable. We are non-partisan and break down having a conversation with Uganda.
We are the Mighty Drive. We hold debates that give you viable solutions. We bring to you people that Ivora is wanting to listen to. We are gender sensitive and give space to the unheard voices. Not forgetting the quote of the day.
We are live on our social media platforms, The Alternative Uganda on Facebook, YouTube and Twitter from Monday to Friday, 7 to 9 a.m. Don't miss the debate behind the wheels and our studios.
I am Edgar Matthew Karuhanga.
Farida Vikobiri.
And Princess Luwe Delidian.
Expect in-depth analysis, credible, factual and authentic information. We are the Alternative Digitalk.
Real issues, real talk.